Hello everyone, welcome in the fourth episode of the second season of Searching for the Slavic Soul. As you've noticed, yet again, I am not greeting you as I would greet a Rodnover, so a Slavic pagan. And I am not greeting you with Sława because even though you might have some Slavic blood flowing in your veins, you are not really Slavic and most certainly not pagan. Hopefully not yet, but the jury is still out on it, so we will just have to wait and see. However, as you stick with me and continue doing your homework, you will gradually learn what sort of mindset being a Slavic pagan requires, and will hopefully start developing such mindset. Because Slavic paganism is as much a religion as a state of mind. And the state of mind of a Slavic pagan is a state of being deeply connected to your family, in a sense of your bloodline, not in a sense of the modern nuclear family consisting of your mom and, if you're lucky, your dad. So far, your homework required you to develop a habit of venerating your ancestors, who are an integral part of your bloodline, mostly because without them, your bloodline would have died decades or centuries ago, and it has not because you are alive. You are also have been working on getting real about your identity, which means to get rid of your delusional, self-proclaimed identities and connect with the only true identity you have, the identity of a member of one generation of your family, which is, by the way, the most unique and individualized identity anyone can ever have, because only you and no one else in the entire world is the child of your parents, the first child, the second child, or the third child if you have siblings. No one else in the entire world is a grandchild of your grandparents and perhaps even a mother of a father of your children. As I reminded you on few occasions, being a mother or a father of your children is also the most awesome superpower, giving you, among many other perks, the power over demons tormenting your child. In the last episode, we were working on getting you some protection against various demons, and your homework was to learn how to not get overwhelmed by emotions, which is a skill every adult Slavic pagan simply has to have. And if you've been doing your homework, you should be more or less ready for what we will be dealing with today with your family. And as a bonus content, while sorting out your relations to your family, we will also explain why you are a Christianized ne-Marxist and how to stop being one. So, let's go. There is a theory in physics that's called assembly theory. It's a quite new theory developed in order to understand the origin of life. Assembly theory provides a new framework for looking at complex systems, seeing these systems, like humans, for example, not only as a material objects that are capable of performing certain tasks or functions, but also as a result of evolution or assembly over time. In assembly theory, everything is described not only with its mass, density, volume, or other material features, but also with something that's called assembly index, which measures the minimum number of steps required to construct an object from its basic components. This assembly index is an intrinsic feature of everything that exists, including humans, and is a value that measures the depth in time of an object. From the point of view of assembly theory, your family is the depth in time of you. Actually, not your whole family, but only the previous generations of your family, which were the required steps for you to exist. However, using the framework of assembly theory, which, let me remind you, was developed to look at complex systems, we could look at the family as the complex system and see you as the basic component that makes it. And this is exactly how Slavic native faith looks at it, because Slavic paganism entirely revolves around family. For any Slavic pagan, the family is everything. It is the beginning and the end. It is the lens through which everything else is sorted. It is the ultimate center of the universe in which a Slavic pagan functions. It is the ultimate complex system which is constructed from every member of the family across the time and space. The ultimate responsibility of every pagan Slav is to contribute to his or her family growth, prosperity, and permanence over generations, to maintain the structure and the function of the family despite external pressures or internal changes. Because in Slavic native faith, it is not the family that's yours. It is you who are your families. Contrary to this point of view, Christianity sees the family as unimportant and useful only in such sense that indoctrinated by Christianity, families are most effective way of spreading Christianity to the next generations. After all, Jesus himself said, as per Matthew 10 verses 34 to 37, that's a quote, "Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me." End of quote. The same sort of message is repeated in Luke 12, verses 51 to 53. Following this sort of line of thinking, while Christianizing European pagans, including Slavic pagans, Christian clergy and rulers of the newly formed Christian states started a systematic attack on families with the goal of annihilating identity based on kinship and promoting identity based on religion. The process of family annihilation was in details described in a book, The Weirdest People in the World, by Joseph Henrich. I do not have time, nor do I particularly fancy to get into details of Henrich's book here, so I will just mention very quickly that the structure of pre-Christian family in Europe was destroyed because it was standing in the way of exerting dominance by the church-state pan-European project directed by the popes on the church side and the Holy Roman Emperors on the state side. Marxists and neo-Marxists have strangely similar to Christianity, not to Slavic paganism, approach to the institution of family. Marx advocated for a total abolition of family because he saw it as a mechanism to preserve wealth, property, and class status. As to neo-Marxists, they see family as the product of the oppressive normativity. And as Marx did, neo-Marxists advocate for abolishing of the family, which currently can be observed by the various progressive legislation which seeks to strip parents of parental rights, claiming that child knows best what he or she needs and what's best for his or her future, which is obviously delusional and contrary to absolutely everything we know about child development. But what else can you expect from a bunch of moronic armchair philosophers who do not know shit but think they are, oh, so smart? of which I talked at length in the episode 19th of the first season of Searching for the Slavic Soul, to which I will link up in the notes if anyone wants to understand the Slavic pagan view on Marx's delusions. But back to the importance of family. If you think that your beliefs are more important than your family, it basically means that you are Christianized. If you think that family should be broken up and annihilated for the sake of your beliefs or the so-called progress, you are either Christianized or a Marxist, or both. And if you went, as is currently called, no contact with your family for the sake of your mental health, you are a pseudo-Christian, neo-Marxist, brainwashed zombie, and I can't help you until you get your head out of your ass and stop considering yourself the center of the universe to which everyone has to pander, otherwise they are just unsafe and toxic. However, hopefully, after diligently doing your homework from the first 3 episodes of the second season, you do not think so, and you are ready to join your family in a Slavic pagan way, which is what we are going to be talking about today. So, let's start with how our Slavic pagan ancestors made the complex system of their family work, thrive, prosper, and persist over time. The short answer to this question is they made their family an integral part of their culture and pretty much everything they did. The pre-Christian Slavic culture, including the laws, was developed with family in mind. The sources on Slavic culture are full of stories and instructions on how members of Slavic families should love each other, care for each other, disagree with each other, share their wealth, take responsibility for each other, and carry the blame, curse, or punishment for each other. Going back to assembly theory, this is exactly why the complex system of Slavic family was selected for and reproduced successfully through time and space, despite external pressures like over 1,000 years of active and relentless attempts to annihilate both Slavic family and Slavic pagan culture by Christianization. To give you an idea of how rare such perseverance is, it is estimated that 77 to 86% of languages have gone extinct since human speech developed around 100 or 200,000 years ago. These distinct languages were likely connected to some sort of distinct culture which likely died out with them. Only in the 20th and 21st century, nearly 500 languages died out. I found a Wikipedia page that lists 18 known and extinct ethnic groups, but it's Wikipedia, so who knows how accurate that is. But still, the Americas and Australia, which were colonized and Christianized way later than the Slavs, have seen over 80% of pre-colonial languages extinct since the late 18th century, yet Slavs and their complex systems of Slavic families still exist and thrive. This complex system of Slavic family is your depth in time. This is the reason why you exist. And it is your responsibility as an aspiring Slavic pagan to continue to find ways of keeping your family system going. And now, let's talk about how you can do it in a Slavic way. If you, for example, look at the ethnographical sources, such as Slavic folk songs recorded in the early 19th century, which was, let me remind you, a time where rural areas on the Slavic lands were very superficially Christianized, and pretty much all the folk traditions are connected directly with the pagan customs. So if you look at the folk songs, you will pretty much see every possible type of interactions between family members. For the purpose of this episode, I reread a collection of folk songs from the area of Pińsk, which is a city in modern Białoruś, and these songs were gathered and translated into Polish by Romuald Zienkiewicz and published in 1851 in Kaunas, which is a city in modern Lithuania. The reason why I reread only this collection is that A, because of time limitations, I self-restrained myself, because my nature is such that once I get into a publication like that, it's suddenly a month later and I am neck deep into comparative analysis of symbolism of verbs, Old Polish grammar and syntax, etymology of names of various objects and such, and I am most certainly not any closer to producing episode 4 of the second season of Searching for the Slavic Soul. And the reason B is that Zienkiewicz collection includes songs from the full year of the ritual cycle, so it's comprehensive enough to show the details of family life through the span of the whole year. So my absolutely all-time favorite song from this collection is a song sung by a daughter who sings about how she will go to the forest and will sing a song, and the forest will carry the song to her father. And when the father hears this song, if he recognizes that the song is sung by his daughter, then he will tell his daughter to have fun and enjoy herself. But if he thinks that the song is sung by her sister-in-law, then the father will tell his daughter-in-law to be well but quiet and to be more keen to work. It's just such a gorgeous picture of the father-daughter relationship where the father wants everything the best for his daughter and the daughter knows it. And this knowledge is her source of encouragement in difficult times where she has some problems and needs to go to the forest to think it through. So here you have it. This is how your family supports you, even when they are not there. Maybe you don't get on with your family. Maybe you think they don't wish you well. Maybe you ruminate on all the quote-unquote harms you think your family inflicted on you. But there is always one member of your family that wishes you well, that wants the best for you, and this is who you think of when you are down. This is who you sing the song for. In this song is the girl's father, but for you it might be your sister or aunt or grandfather or even one of your ancestors to whom you can also reach out with your song, as is illustrated by a very sad song sung in the spring when, as you might or might not know, in the pre-industrial times, a lot of families dealt with the death of family members, because back then a lot of people did not make it through the winter, mostly due to hunger. So in this song, the wife sings about her husband who passed away over the winter, and in this song she asks why he left her, with her sorrow and with their children. And in the song, her dead husband replies that he would love nothing more than to carry her sorrow and lift her head, but he's dead and he cannot come back. But still, through the song, he can be with her. It's just such a beautiful way to encode your relationship with the dead into your culture. Make it into a song. Sing it every year as a part of a ritual which gives the next generations a ready script to understand and cope with loss, loneliness, and the difficulties that life throws at all of us. In the collection, there is also a wedding song sung before the ritual of marriage, during which, following Slavic Pagan tradition, the bride's hair are burned, and from this moment on, she has to cover her hair with a scarf. Here, maybe for those who don't know, I remind you that the initiation ritual for girls in Slavic pagan tradition is a ritual called zapleciny, which means braiding, where the girl's hair is braided to symbolize her entering adulthood. And she wears her hair braided until she gets married, where during the marriage ceremony, her braids are undone, her hair combed through, and then burned short. I mean, they used to be burned short. Now I think they are cut, but is not the point. The point is that in this song, the bride cries, and her parents ask her why she's crying. And they ask if she's crying because she has to leave them and go to live with her husband. And the bride, still crying, replies that no, she's not crying because she has to leave her parents, but because she's crying because she cannot stand losing her braids, and she cries because without her braids she will not be able to have fun anymore, but she will have to sit on a bench with other wives. And this is a ritual song that is sung as an integral part of the wedding ritual. So just look how all the misunderstandings, the potentially argument-inducing differences in points of view of the family members are incorporated into the ritual. They are made to be a part of the tradition. So any potential sources of arguments are just put out there and processed, so the argument is avoided. Again, here you have it. Different members of your family can have different opinions, different values. They can care about different things. You might consider some of such different points of view hurtful, like the parents being told that their daughter actually does not mind leaving them, but she really minds losing her braids and her freedom. But such differences are processed within the ritual and reconciled to preserve the bonds within the family. In the later parts of the wedding ritual, the parents, despite hearing the hurtful words from their daughter, they still actively participate in the ritual, even defending their daughter from the attack of the family of the groom, which, by the way, is also an integral part of the ritual. So the Slavic tradition anticipates conflict, including the conflict between the families of the bride and groom, and proactively resolves it by making it a part of the ritual. And so should you. Your family is not a political party. Not all its members have to value the same things and have to have the same goals. Accept it and celebrate it as your ancestors celebrated it. When you hear a family member saying something that you find hurtful, take a step back. Don't get the emotions overwhelm you as you practice it for the last month, and instead accept that the family member just simply has different point of view and values different things. And that's it. In the collection of songs from Pinsk, there is many songs where either the daughter or the son will sing to the parents about the dollar, like the daughter's or the son's dollar, and they would ask parents to either give them their dollar or to change their dollar. Dola, as you remember, is a sort of protective spirit that is spanned by rodzanice in the first few days after a child is born. But when the child is a child, then the mother and father are the keepers of the child's dola, and it seems they have the ability to withhold or to change the dola, depending on what they think is appropriate for the child. There is, however, one song which I have to admit always makes me roll my eyes, because in this song a young girl sings to her brother, asking him to help her to find her dollar. And the brother sings back that he already looked for his sister dollar and he found $2. One drinking and having fun, and the other one wailing in the fields. But he was not able to distinguish which one is his sister's dollar. To that, the sister replies that the one wailing is her dollar. And it's just such an accurate portrait of certain type of a young girl who does nothing but wail in the fields and is convinced that this is her fate forever. But still, it is lovely that her brother was not sure, because it shows that he actually hoped that his sister might be willing to stop wailing and start having fun. I will not be talking anymore about dollar today because I'm talking too long already, and I still want to mention the details of Slavic pagan family function preserved in the early medieval legal codices. The one legal codex I will refer to, for the same reason I refer to only one collection of songs, is Ruska Pravda, is a legal code of Kievan Rus, which is mainly based on the laws codified by Jarosław the Wise in the 11th century. But the edition I have, this is an edition with translated and with commentaries by Ignacy Benedict Rakowiecki. This edition includes codices of Olga and Igor of Kiev from the 10th century, and of Mścisław Dawidowicz of Smolensk from the 13th century. Obviously, all these codices were written down by Christian monks and dictated by Christian rulers, but the laws were not just summoned up from the ceiling. The laws codified traditional laws of the tribes of pagan Slavs, superimposing on them a layer of Christian doctrine in order to ultimately get rid of the pagan kinship-based legislation and turn it into Christian religion-based legislation, which was a process that was happening in the whole Europe during the Christianization of Europe's indigenous pagan population. This process is explained in details in the Henrich's book, so if you're interested in the details, do read it. It's a really good book. But as far as the topic of today's episode goes, in Ruska Pravda and other codices of Kievan Rus, it is obvious that the family was the prism through which the law saw an individual. Actually, no one was seen as an individual in the laws of Slavic pagans. Everyone was seen as a member of his or her own family and was dealt with accordingly. For example, if a member of your family was killed, it was your family right. Literally, it was written down as law to take revenge for the killed family member. But if for any reason your family could not take the revenge, then the killer and the killer's family had to pay główszczyzna, or how it's called in Russian, dzikaya wira, which is blood money. And this blood money was paid and divided between the members of the family of the killed. By the way, if the killer could not be identified, then the blood money was to be paid by all the inhabitants of the district in which the murder was committed, which really meant by the family on which land the murder was committed. That shows that the family was not only responsible for keeping its members safe from murder, but was also responsible for keeping peace on the family land and either prevent murder from happening on its land or prevent evidence of murder to be detected on the family land. As far as the blood money go, how much of blood money was owed to the family of the murdered depended on the family of the murdered. If the family was strong and influential, there was a lot of blood money to be paid, and if the family was just simple peasants, there was much less blood money to be paid. By the way, if the murderer was a slave, there was no blood money to be paid, because a slave was seen as a thing, not as a human. And Now you might think that codifying a value of an individual as relative to the status of his or her family is a discrimination, but you would think so only if you saw the individual as an individual and not, as pre-Christian Slavs saw it, as primary a member of his or her family. But if you look at it through the Slavic Pagan prism, where family is more important than an individual, you will notice that the status of the family depends on the conduct of every single member of the family. Because, for example, according to Ruska Pravda, if blood money or other type of fine could not be paid by the family whose member committed a crime, then the whole family could be sold into slavery and thus the whole family would lose its status. But if a family member was a stand-up individual who worked hard, was brave, virtuous and loyal to, say, Kievan Kniaz, then the individual and his or her whole family would gain status and through that ensure better protection for its individual members. And that applied not only to blood money, but to pretty much everything. If your family was of high status, your oath meant more. You needed less witnesses to vouch for your innocence, and you even had to endure less severe trials by ordeal, of which I talked in the 12th episode of the first season of Searching for the Slavic Soul. So I will not be talking about it here. I will just mention that the trial by ordeal was a way of establishing guilt or innocence by essentially torturing the suspect. Oh, and by the way, to address any stupid claims of stupid Marxists who think that pre-Christian pagan Slavs lived in primitive communism, no, they did not. Pre-Christian pagan Slavs recognized and respected private property of the family and did not care about the equality or other shit. Outside of religious rituals like plony or kupała, they shared their wealth within the family, not within the community, and they valued individuals as the members of their family, not some class or ethnic group. And any stupid neo-Marxist pseudo-pagans who think that all Slavs should unite to build some sort of ethno-linguistic commune should just shut up, educate themselves, and stop being stupid, which brings shame on their families and does them nothing good. So, my aspiring Slavic pagans, to summarize, if you want to become Slavic pagans, you have got to start thinking about yourself as primarily the members of your family. It is not about what you want, what you need, what you feel, or what you find hurtful, sunshine. It's about what is beneficial for your family now and in the long term. It is about what allows your family to endure and persevere through the time and space. What allows your family to continue to function as a complex system that lasts through generations and continue protecting its basic parts, the members of the family. And as your homework, I want you to do just that. I want you to start thinking about yourself as a part of a larger entity, as a part of your family. Try to figure out what you can do to bring your family together, either now or in the future. If you have children, but as it often happens nowadays, they have no contact with their family, a part of you, try to come up with a point of view that brings your family closer to your children. Try to find a way to overcome rifts, disagreements, and other feuds in your family. You might not be able to reconnect with your family, but if you sow the seeds today, maybe in a few years, you will be able to reap your family reunion or at least reconnection. If there is a rift between you and another family member, See if you can find a point of view or way of thinking about it that allows you to overcome your hurt or regret and lets you think about your family in a loving, understanding way. I will be talking more about how to do it in the next episode, in which I am planning to talk about getting you $1. So don't sweat too much if you cannot think of another point of view. Just keep trying to get connected, even if only spiritually, to your family, and start getting familiar with the idea that it is not you who is really important here. And that is all I had to say for today. Please remember to subscribe to Witia's Substack, because from next month the Squarespace site will shut down. I have already moved most of the content from the Squarespace to Substack, and I updated the podcast hosting info on all the podcast platform I could think of. But if I have missed something, do let me know either via Substack or via email or via comments on Spotify, because I actually check those. And for now, take care, and until the next episode, which will come out on the 1st of October. Sława!